With a grateful nod, Olga bid Nick goodbye and headed back to her apartment. Nick waited until Olga was out of his sight. Then he made a call to someone. After a few rings, the call was answered. Frank, how are you? Frank was Nick's friend from college. Frank had a good reputation in the government as the new minister in the country where Olga had been hiding. The last time they talked, Nick was asking him to help hide Olga and make sure she's protected. Now he wanted to ask him for a meeting. He wanted to ask him another favor about Olga. Nick, it's been a while. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Frank replied warmly. What can I do for you? Nick wasted no time getting to the point. Yeah, a long time. I am sorry I didn't get the time to thank you formally considering your respectable position, and you still have time for me. Frank chuckled. You don't have to be formal with me, Nick. You know I owe you a lot. Do you remember that in high school you were always there like a shield to protect me from the bullies? And then in college, you were the only one I could count on? If you hadn't left the country, I would have found you a place in the government too, just near me. Nick smiled at the memories Frank brought up. Of course I remember, Frank. Those were good times. And hey, you've always been there for me too. And about the government position, well, you know, I have never liked government jobs. I believe I'm where I need to be. Frank nodded in understanding. I get it, Nick. So, what brings you to call me now? Need another favor? Nick sighed, his tone serious. Yeah, Frank, I do. It's about Olga. Frank's tone turned serious. Olga? Is she okay? Is she in trouble? Nick hesitated for a moment before responding. Physically, yes, but she's in a bit of trouble. It's complicated. James, her ex, has found out she's back in the country. He's been looking for her, and I'm worried about her. She suffered enough because of this man. I don't want it to happen again with me watching. Frank's expression turned grave. James? The same guy she was hiding from when you asked me for help? Nick nodded. Exactly. He's also my boss, and now if he finds out about her, he will know that I helped Olga behind his back. Frank's voice hardened. I see. All right, Nick. What do you need me to do? I need you to pull some strings, Frank. I need to make sure Olga and her daughter are protected. I need to make sure James doesn't find out anything special about them, especially about me helping her. You know I am his personal secretary. It might get worse. Frank nodded, understanding the urgency of the situation. Consider it done, Nick. I'll do whatever I can to help. Nick quickly relayed the details as soon as possible. Thank you, Frank. I owe you one. He paused for a moment, then continued. There's something else I want, Frank, and it might make you feel uncomfortable, but consider it a debt. What is it, Nick? If it's really important and you know I am in a position to help you, all you need to do is tell me. Frank comforted him, reassuring him. I want you to pretend that you have been Olga's boyfriend and that Kaya is your daughter, and make sure that information is available for James to believe. We can add you to the birth certificate. It will be understandable since you were there when Kaya was born. Frank's silence lingered for a moment, processing Nick's request. Finally, he spoke with a sigh. Nick, I understand the gravity of the situation, and I'm willing to help however I can. But pretending to be Olga's boyfriend and Kaya's father, that's a big step, and it could have repercussions. Are you sure about this? You know how much my reputation means to me. Nick's tone was resolute. I'm sure, Frank. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't necessary. It's the only way to protect them and keep them safe from James's reach. Please, Frank, I need your help on this. Frank hesitated, weighing the potential consequences against the need to protect Olga and Kaya. He also had hidden feelings for Olga. If he could get a chance, he could make her his. He wanted her, but he wasn't sure if his family would approve of a girl with a child that was not theirs. He made his decision and finally let out a resigned sigh. All right, Nick, I'll do it. But only because I trust you and because I know how much Olga means to you. I'll make sure the necessary arrangements are made. Relief flooded through Nick as he expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Frank. I owe you big time for this. Don't mention it, Nick. Just take care of Olga and Kaya, and keep me updated on any developments. We'll get through this together, Frank reassured him before ending the call. With their plan in motion and Frank's assurance of support, Nick felt a renewed sense of hope for Olga's safety. He ended the call with Frank and made his way back home, ready to continue his usual daily routine while secretly implementing his plans. Nick felt a weight lifted off his shoulders and a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but with Frank's help and his determination, he was confident they could keep Olga and Kaya safe from James's deceit. Meanwhile, Olga returned home, her mind buzzing with thoughts of the impending danger. As she stepped into her apartment, she found Maggie waiting anxiously for her, concern etched on her face. Olga, what happened? Are you all right? Maggie asked, rushing to her friend's side. Olga took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. I'm okay, Maggie. But we have a problem. James knows I'm back and he's looking for me. Maggie's eyes widened in shock as she listened to Olga's words. Oh no, Olga. This is bad. What are we going to do? Olga's mind raced with possibilities as she explained the situation to Maggie, detailing Nick's plan and Frank's involvement. We have to trust Nick, Maggie. He'll do everything he can to protect us. But in the meantime, we need to be cautious. I know he will need to pass through you to get to me. He will try to pressure you with the fact that he helped you with your career. But I know you can handle him just like you did before. And again, tomorrow I am registering Kaya at the best school in the city, something we never experienced. Maggie nodded with determination flashing in her eyes. You're right, Olga. We'll get through this together. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you and Kaya safe. And together, we will make sure Kaya is the cutest and happiest child ever. Then she chuckled. Olga, let's go to sleep. Tomorrow is another day. It was a beautiful morning. Olga opened her eyes to find Kaya sleeping soundly beside her, her innocent face bathed in the soft morning light filtering through the curtains. A sense of peace washed over Olga as she watched her daughter sleep, her heart swelling with love and gratitude for the precious gift of Kaya. Carefully slipping out of bed so as not to disturb her, Olga went about her morning routine, preparing breakfast while humming a soothing melody. The events of the previous day still lingered in her mind, but she was determined not to let fear overshadow her resolve to protect Kaya. Maggie joined her in the kitchen, hugging her from behind as she smiled. It's so great to wake up every morning and see you, just like in the old days. The only difference is that I was the one in charge of the kitchen. Now you even wake before me. They both laughed. Olga commented, Maggie, now isn't before. This has become my everyday routine so that Kaya can have breakfast on time. Trust me, now I am a great cook. You can't even compare. Maggie, taking the still from Olga, commented, Well, from today I am going to be the one making breakfast for you again, just like before. Now you can go ahead and sit back, relax, and enjoy your morning coffee while I take care of everything. Olga chuckled, touched by Maggie's gesture. Thanks, Maggie. It's nice to have you here, taking care of us. As they sat down to eat, enjoying the breakfast Maggie had made, Kaya stirred awake, her eyes blinking sleepily as she looked up at her mother. Good morning, Mama, Auntie Maggie, she mumbled, a sleepy smile tugging at her lips. Good morning, sweetheart, Olga replied, returning her daughter's smile. Did you sleep well? Kaya nodded, rubbing her eyes with her tiny fists. Yes, Mama. I had a nice dream about flying with butterflies. Olga's heart melted at Kaya's innocent words. That sounds lovely, sweetheart. Maybe one day we can go on an adventure together and fly with the butterflies. Kaya's eyes lit up with excitement at the idea. Really, Mama? Can we do that today? Olga chuckled softly, ruffling Kaya's hair affectionately. Maybe not today, darling, but we'll definitely plan something special soon. Maggie chimed in, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. How about we go to the park today? We can have a picnic and play games together. And who knows? Maybe we'll even see some butterflies there. Kaya's face lit up with joy at the suggestion. Yes, Auntie Maggie. That sounds like so much fun. Orga smiled gratefully at Maggie. That sounds like a wonderful idea, Maggie. But today, I have already made plans to go to register Kaya for school. Well, that sounds great. I also have a free schedule. Maybe we can all go together, Maggie suggested. Orga smiled warmly at Maggie's suggestion. That would be fantastic, Maggie. Having you with us would make the day even more special. Kaya will be the famous girl of the school to have the best singer-artist of the year take her to school. Kaya's eyes widened with excitement. Auntie Maggie, are you coming with us to register me for school? Maggie beamed at Kaya. Of course, sweetie. I'd love to come along and support you on your big day. Hey, Orga, what school are we taking Kaya to? Has Nick given you the contact information of the school head? Remember, it must be the best school in the city. Orga nodded, a hint of pride in her voice. Yes, Nick provided all the necessary information. We're going to register Kaya at Bright Horizons Academy. It's known for its excellent academic programs and nurturing environment. Maggie's eyes lit up with approval. Ah, Bright Horizons. That's a top-notch choice, Orga. Kaya will thrive there for sure. Kaya clapped her hands in excitement. Yay! I can't wait to go to school. Just then, there was a knock on the door, interrupting their cozy moment. Orga's heart skipped a beat, her mind racing with apprehension. Could it be James? Cautiously, Orga approached the door, her pulse quickening with each step. Peering through the peephole, she let out a sigh of relief when she saw Nick standing on the other side, a reassuring smile on his face. With a grateful smile, Orga opened the door, welcoming Nick inside. Good morning, Nick. What brings you here so early? Nick stepped inside, his expression serious yet determined. Good morning, Orga. I just wanted to check in on you and Kaya and see how you're holding up. Orga felt a surge of gratitude for Nick's thoughtfulness. Despite the risks involved, he had remained steadfast in his commitment to protect them. We're doing okay, Nick. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Nick nodded, his gaze softening as he looked at Orga and Kaya. Orga, there is one thing that brought me here. Now that Kaya is going to school, we can't hide her. We would be ignoring her rights. Frank has promised to help us by acting as Kaya's father. He will arrive here in the city tomorrow. You will have to act as if the two of you are in love, just to make James believe the child isn't his. Orga felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her at Nick's words. Relief washed over her, knowing that they had Frank's support, but the idea of pretending to be in love with him felt daunting. Nevertheless, she knew it was a necessary step to ensure Kaya's safety and happiness. Taking a deep breath, Orga nodded at Nick. I understand, Nick. Thank you for arranging this. We'll do whatever it takes to protect Kaya. Nick offered her a reassuring smile. I know you will, Orga. Frank will be here tomorrow morning. Until then, make sure to enjoy today with Kaya and Maggie. Orga nodded, a sense of determination settling over her. We will. Thank you again, Nick. As Nick left, Orga turned back to Maggie and Kaya, plastering a smile on her face despite the turmoil inside her. Well, it looks like we have a big day ahead of us, doesn't it? Maggie and Kaya exchanged excited glances, unaware of the underlying tension in Orga's voice. Yes, Mama, Kaya exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Kaya, who was overhearing, looked at her mother in confusion after Nick had left and said, Mommy, who is that James you were just talking about with Uncle Handsome? Is that James, my dad? Why don't you want me to see him if he's looking for me? You said he hates us. Were you lying, Mommy? Kaya has always called Nick Uncle Handsome, and Nick always called her Little Cutie. That was their acknowledgement. Orga's heart sank at Kaya's innocent questions, grappling with how to explain the situation to her young daughter. She knelt down beside Kaya, her eyes meeting her daughter's with gentle sincerity. "Sweetheart, James is... well, he's someone from Mommy's past. But right now, it's important for us to focus on our present and our future together," Olga began, choosing her words carefully. "Uncle Handsome and Uncle Frank are helping us make sure we're safe and happy. Sometimes things can be a little complicated for grown-ups, but I promise we're doing everything we can to keep you safe. And I will explain everything when you grow up." Kaya listened intently, her brow furrowing slightly as she tried to make sense of her mother's words. "But Mommy, if James is from your past, does that mean he's my dad?" Olga hesitated, knowing that she couldn't keep the truth from Kaya any longer. Taking a deep breath, she reached out to cup Kaya's face in her hands, her gaze filled with love and honesty. "Kaya, sweetheart, James is your biological father," Olga admitted gently. "But being a parent isn't just about biology. It's about love, care, and responsibility. Do you remember what I told you about him last time? He may act as if he wants you just to take you away from me. Do you want to leave me alone and be with his wife? And sweetheart, Uncle Frank has agreed to help us be the best family we can be, even if he's not your biological father. You know he always brings you toys and takes you to the park. You will understand everything when you grow up." Kaya's eyes widened in surprise, processing her mother's words quietly. After a moment, she reached out to hug Olga tightly, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. "I love you, Mommy," she whispered. Olga held Kaya close, returning her hug with equal tenderness. "I love you too, Kaya. Always and forever." She then looked at her. "Kaya, can you promise me something?" "What is it, Mommy?" Olga, trying to convince her daughter to be strong, said, "Can you promise me that you won't tell your biological dad that he is indeed your dad? Even if you two meet, you can't tell him or anyone else about him being your dad."